one of the best-selling musicians in history, an icon for the LGBTQ+ community. She actually wrote and performed a song for One Young World in Bogota. She's a dedicated campaigner for elephant conservation. There are very few people in the world who are famous by one name alone. She is one of them. Please welcome Cher. Welcome. So good to see you again.
I heard you say icon, and I was looking, and Jen said, "No,
It's
no,
you.
it's
You're
you."
the icon.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here again, and we have wonderful things to talk about. So, without further, thank you.
Woo!
That was so fun.
And joining her remotely is, without question, the most preeminent zoologist of the last century, Dr. Jane Goodall. Hello, Dr. Jane.
Hello, everybody.
Do you think there's something inherently wrong with zoos, or is it just that they shouldn't have certain animals and certain types of creatures in them?
There are zoos and zoos, I always say. No zoo should exhibit elephants, no aquarium should have dolphins and whales. And you know, if a zoo has huge areas of space and elephants can wander free, as Cher, you were describing, then those animals, you know, very often can't be put back in the wild. And anyway, to put a captive elephant or any other creature from a zoo back into the wild without very, very careful health checks, you can be introducing new pathogens into the wild. So you can't make an overruling. It's species by species and zoo by zoo. Some zoos shouldn't exist. They should be closed down immediately. The trouble is, you can't close down a zoo until you have a plan, but where are you going to put the animals who are being so badly treated in that zoo? And the problem gets difficult, but we need to work together to solve it so that we no longer have miserable shackled elephants, which, by the way, are all over India in the temples. There's so much work to be done, but luckily there are more and more people understanding the need to rescue these animals, the need to understand that animals are individuals, not just a species. That each one is an individual with its own personality and mind and emotions, feeling happiness, sadness, fear, and so on. And once we all understand that, then, well, that needs a lot of education, doesn't it?
I mean, sure, that's the idea behind Free the Wild, isn't it, really?
Well, I also believe, like Jane, I don't believe in zoos. I just think they're wrong because, and when you say this, sometimes people think you're, I don't know, but animals and humans, you know, sometimes the animals are much better people than we are, you know? So I would say that no one really understands how intelligent and how caring, if you look at, you know, elephants, the women with their children and their aunts and their uncles and the little boys, elephants like trudging into his aunt and she's just being there like calm going, all right, I'm just gonna take this. I mean, it's a thought out thing. Like in my family, where if somebody did something bad, you know, the aunt might say, okay, I'm just going to take this or try to explain it. But animals are so much like us that it's like putting your grandmother in a cage and having someone come and throw peanuts at her. It's just not right. It's not humane. You know, I have an idea for a virtual reality zoo. And kids coming up now, they wouldn't know the difference and they wouldn't care. They would just be able to have the experience of enjoying the animal, and they could walk around it. It would, you know, and there's no need for it. There's just no need for it because the caretakers, even if they love the animals, they're not doing the right job. They're not doing what's best for the animals. Animals just don't belong in cages.
Yeah.
What I want to say is that I've seen so much going on in the wild. If you see some of what goes on in the wild, the animals killed for bushmeat, the animals held in traps. They're trapped by a wire snare around their ankle or their wrist. If you see some of the horrors as the habitat is destroyed around them, if you see the result of the poaching of elephants and rhinos. So zoos, as I said, and I didn't continue with this, but there are zoos and zoos. There are some zoos and some animals that can actually be much happier in a zoo than where they actually are in the wild. I remember it hit me one day. I was watching a group of chimpanzees, two males grooming each other in the evening, two mothers just lying, their young ones playing. They were going to go in and have a nice supper. And, they were just totally happy. They had big space. They had a lot of environment enrichment. And then I thought back to what I just left in Africa, which was infants whose mothers are being killed for the illegal wildlife trade, little infants tied up in markets, little infants being sold as pets and dressed up and then abandoned because they get too strong. So let's not damn all zoos. Some zoos are exhibiting the animals that can be happy if they have a big enough space and enrichment and care and the right food. And
But Jane, could you tell me what that zoo is? Could you tell me one of them so I could go online and study for myself so I could see what's going on in depth?
yes, there are actually an awful lot. I'm just going to mention the one I was last at,
Okay.
which is Pug Zoo. And I don't know if you know that the pangolin, I adore pangolins. It's the most heavily trafficked animal in the world. These gentle animals who curl up when they're frightened to protect them, they're now being captured for meat, but also because of this belief in Asia that the scales will protect you from all sorts of things, and they grind them up in powder. And there's a film out now which I could send you. And in the Prague Zoo, they have just been the very first zoo in Europe to breed a baby pangolin. I went to meet that baby, and since then, which was about 6 months ago, a second baby has been born. I met the mother and the father. They're solitary animals. They don't need a lot of space, and they're given their food in a way that this long tongue that's designed to get insects from the burrow, it goes around these little things. And I would say those animals are really lucky to be in the Prague Zoo. The Houston Zoo, if you want to see a group of elephants that have some of the best conditions in any zoo, go to the Houston Zoo. And, there are different zoos doing different things for different animals, and people raising a lot of money to help with programs in where the animals live to protect the environment and to protect the animals.
Jane, can I ask you, how important is this? Is this a sort of fringe activity, or does it have a significance that goes beyond the numbers, beyond the question of zoos and so forth?
I think it does, John, absolutely. I mean, I think it was, quite honestly, the chimpanzees who began to change the attitude of science towards animals. Because when I went to Cambridge in 1962, I was told, Jane, you can't talk about chimps having personalities, minds, or emotions. Those are unique to us. And you can't have empathy with your subject because a scientist has to be coldly objective. These are our closest living relatives. And as gradually, because their behavior is so like ours, science gradually began to admit we're not, after all, the only creature on the planet with personality, mind, and feeling. And then the next step in conservation is not just to think about animals in terms of their species, but, and as we talked earlier, think with Cher too, each animal is an individual. Each animal that's being given some kind of, permission to hunt them or not hunt them, as to how endangered or not endangered they are. You give permission to hunt animals, you're giving permission to people to hunt individuals. And this is something which gradually is, people are beginning to understand. But we've got to hasten this up. And as I said, education, education, education. We need people to know that these animals out there are not how people used to think of them, but they are living beings with personalities, and each one matters. And, you know, talking, Mark, about Ukraine and the animals in the zoos, I mean, we humans are animals too. Think about what's going on in Gaza. I mean, if you read what's going on in one hospital from a doctor, you know, we just seem unable to treat each other, let alone animals. And so it's also to move forward.
Is it a war that you and Cher and Mark and everybody are winning, or are you fighting a rearguard action against the horrors of the modern world?
I think if we're talking about attitude to animals, we are gradually winning. And you know, John, you know about my youth program, Roots and Shoots. It's now in 70 countries around the world, and every group chooses projects to make the world a better place. One project must be to help animals. And this really, honestly, is beginning to make change in all kinds of countries that never considered animals as beings worthy of help before.
Cher, tell me, why do you care about it? Is it just because you saw an individual animal that was suffering, or is it something bigger in your life?
Well, that really brought it to the fore for me because, you know, you're busy, you're doing everything, and you're not thinking about, oh, this animal is suffering, or oh, this child is suffering. And I'm kind of, I try to help wherever I can, and I have long arms. So I'm always in something. I'm always trying to do something because it makes me happy and because I see injustice and cannot, thank God my mother could not stand injustice either, but I'm in a better situation to improve it. But like, I think if people who go on elephant rides knew that in order to get this animal to be taking you on its back when you think it's an enjoyable ride, they are hog-tied with their legs bound together, their feet bound together in a small bamboo hut, cage, until they're so beaten and so broken and so compliant that they have nervous breakdowns. And when people see elephants kind of rocking back and forth and think it's amusing, that elephant is having a nervous breakdown. And they do. Animals have nervous breakdowns, and elephants are so sensitive, like dolphins or whales or, you know, chimpanzees. So I think we have to stop thinking of them and us. We're animals. We're all the same, and we're so, I don't know. We think that we are something apart from everything else, that we're up here and everything else is down here, but I really don't believe that's true. I believe that we should all be together on one level, you know, it just, because, right. You know, it's strange though, because, and I don't know if this is really true, but I think that if you can't treat an animal right, then the next step is not treating people right. And then the next step is being racist, or the next step is being, you know, Trump supporter.
It is interesting, last night David Suzuki was talking about the development of our species and all the rest of it, and how we used to be part of a web of everything on the planet, and in a way now we've sort of detached ourselves from that and sort of ignored that and almost developed an arrogance as a super species that we just don't really have any need to be connected with anything else, which is it is an arrogance. You know, it's, we all share the world, yet we think it belongs to us.
Well, yeah, and we were just hearing about how on almost a weekly, a monthly basis, scientists like Jane discover how much animals are doing the kind of things we always have thought were just us, making tools, having nicknames for other animals, being able to talk to animals, talking to individual animals. Jane, we're coming, sadly, quite close to the end, but tell me, I mean, you've been fighting these battles for a long, long time. Don't you get depressed? Don't you feel that it's all wasted? Or do you still manage to keep an optimism about where we're all going?
Well, John, I think you know me well enough. I'm a pretty obstinate person, and I'm not going to give in. And yes, the world is pretty grim right now. I mean, let's face it, we've got terrible wars, 2 major ones, we've got conflicts across Africa and in other places, we've got satisfaction, we've got strange politics in different parts of the world. But at the same time, my main reasons for hope are these young people. Roots and Shoots began in 91, 70 countries now, and it's growing all the time. It's growing further and further and further, and I meet with these young people. I'm going to be meeting with hundreds of them in Los Angeles in 2 days, and everywhere they're working on projects to make the world better for people, for animals, for the environment. I've seen and met people doing amazing projects showing that nature, given a chance, can be resilient, and animals on the brink of extinction can be given another chance. So how is it possible that the most intellectual species is only destroying its planet, its only home? And I think we've lost the connect, which is so important, between the brain and the heart. And I truly believe only when head and heart work in harmony can we attain our true human potential. But we mustn't give up. We are moving forward. There are more people understanding the value of animals, the importance of the natural world, of which we are a part and on which we depend for everything. So we're moving in the right direction. Whether we have time depends on how quickly, and Cher, you have a huge following. You can make a huge difference. And, we need to get together with all sorts of different people. John, you, with the BBC. And Mark, I'm glad that the 4 of us are here together. We mustn't...
But wait, I have to say something. I wouldn't be the person... Jane, I wouldn't be the person I am if I hadn't known you in my life from the time I was really little. You have helped me and given me so much strength.
Well, that is a very nice way to end our all too brief discussion. Jane, same with me. I mean, my age is so advanced, but I've followed you all my life, and you've been a guiding light. And dear Cher, you've used your fame and your abilities when most people would just want to have a good time to make the world a better place. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.